On Broadway are dimmed right now. There are people within the community who are pulling out all the stops to draw attention to how interconnected Broadway and the arts in general are to the U.S. economy. Three members of the industry have started a new movement called Be an Arts Hero that emphasizes arts and culture's contribution to the economy. Actor Brooke Chiemi Ishibashi is one of the founders of the campaign, which is highlighting the human and financial toll of letting the arts industry collapse. She joins us now with more on what the campaign's all about.
Thank you so much for having us, Allison. We're so happy to be here.
Now tell me about this program and how you got involved.
Right. So myself, Carson Elrod, Jenny Grace Malcolm, the three of us realized no one was coming to save us. We were waiting for the troops, the infantry, the battalions to come on in and save the day. And the three of us are all artists, activists, organizers. And we looked at each other and we said, oh, wow, we need to advocate for ourselves. No one's coming. So we realized that we needed to mobilize all the different groups who were, I think, working on their own independent efforts to seek relief for themselves. So we realized that there was a gap, there was a need, a mobilization effort, a collective. For example, we needed to, I think, unify the boots on the ground, working class, blue collar arts workers and laborers alongside the celebrities, alongside the unions, the major institutions of the states, and the working class local institutions in America. And so that's what that's what we started to do, and now it's just taken off over the last month. It's only been about a month.
That's amazing. Now, can you give us a sense of what the Broadway community is feeling? Because I think just as a New Yorker, when you see that Broadway is closed, I think we're all just stunned. And then to hear that it's not going to open until 2021, what is that like for you?
I mean, it's incredibly devastating for the thousands of arts workers who are impacted by the Broadway shutdown. You know, at first, so many of our friends were in productions that were stalled with, TBA, shut down until further notice. It's been devastating for the entire community. The idea that it was at first going to be an intermission, a brief intermission, and now that's turned into months upon months upon months of laborers who have no job for the foreseeable future. It's incredibly terrifying, I think, for laborers and workers whose health insurance is tied to their employment. So many of them have lost their health insurance because they don't have a job for the foreseeable future. So it's devastating emotionally, but also on a very real socioeconomic level. People are losing their health insurance.
I think everyone immediately thinks about the actors and actresses, but there seems to be an entire ecosystem that's very deeply affected by what's happening here.
Yes, I mean, we're talking about, when you just think about the performing arts alone, that's, electricians, gaffers, stagehands, crew members, people who work in the box office, concessions, custodian services, administrative staff. So, and that's just performing arts. When you think about museums, you think about the people who work in the gift shops. Like you said, they are large ecosystems that lift up entire sectors, that lift up entire hubs, and I also think about the arts as a jobs multiplier. You think about a hub like Broadway. Broadway alone brought in more revenue than all of the New York and New Jersey sports teams combined in 2019. It was around 1.83 billion in revenue. You think about what that means for an economy, what that means in terms of jobs. It is millions of jobs. The arts and culture sector employs 5.1 million arts workers. So you're talking about not just the fancy celebrities, you're talking about the people who lift up and make up the infrastructure of the entire arts and culture economy.
What do you think Broadway is going to look like when we return?
I think it will look very different. Everyone has a different projection of when it will return and what it's going to look like. I think at this point, we will not be able to return in any kind of fulsome way soon. And I think everyone can agree on that. You know, at first it was a couple months, then it was 6 months. And from what for the Broadway League and from what many other organizations and institutions are now projecting, it's not going to be until likely spring of next year. So when it returns, I think, you know, it's hard to think about the human toll of this, right, Allison? Because at this point, how many laborers are not going to be able to return because they're sick, or because, you know, COVID got them and they weren't able to maintain their health insurance because they lost their jobs. We think about our friends Brian and John, who helm the Costume Industry Coalition. They make all of the costumes for Broadway, cruise ships, tours, theme parks. They are the infrastructure that lifts up communities like Broadway, because they provide the services for Broadway to be able to run. You know, many of these local shops are unable to continue to pay their rent for their warehouses. They have to lay off their staffs. So what happens when Broadway says, okay, we're ready to return, and they pick up the phone and it's, you know, a cutoff line because all these costume warehouses weren't able to keep their lights on. So that's what we're looking at. When we come back, it's going to be wholly different because so many people will not be able to sustain themselves.
Well, before I let you go, how can we help and how can we support your program?
I think the most important thing for anyone who's watching or listening to understand is that there is a humanitarian toll and a systemic economic collapse that we're facing if we do not receive proportionate relief from Congress immediately. What we are strongly demanding at this point is $43.85 billion in relief. We need Congress to craft and pass meaningful legislation immediately. And in order to, I think, push them into doing that, we need people to call their senators. And we need people to do whatever they can to tweet, tag, call, write their senators to make, I think, a rallying war cry that will be heard on the Hill.
Well, we are going to provide all of that information on our website so that people can join you in this effort, because this is not something that, as we can all see, is going to end anytime soon. So we really need to support the community. And I just thank you so much for leading the way and taking charge and taking action to help the community, the arts community, the entire arts community, but especially Broadway.
Thank you, Allison. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Now, everything you need to contact your leaders is on the website. So go to beanartshero.com, and they make it so easy by providing a pre-filled action template letter, social media handles, and phone numbers for all of the senators, a sample call script, graphics to share on social media, you name it, they have it. So it's all set up for you. All you have to do is take action to help out, and of course, we hope you will.